morning, everyone. Welcome to the opening session of Teach for LA. My name is Leah Martinez, former college lead for the Teach Los Angeles Regional Collaborative and project manager for the Grow Your Own Teacher Pathway at Rio Hondo College. We're thrilled to be with you today. I hope that you're thrilled to be with us today. We're so grateful to have you join us as we embark on the Teach for LA virtual worship series, now in its 8th season. Well, a special thanks to our partners at the Center for Collaborative Education through the Grow Your Own Teacher Pathway program, joining us once again to give you Teach for LA. Let's give them a warm welcome and hear a few words from their team.
I will kick us off. Hello, everyone. My name is Nicole. I am the CCE Program Associate, and I am so glad you're all here. I will pass it to Yvonne Tran.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yvonne Tran, and I am the Program Manager at Center for Collaborative Education. Nice to meet you all.
Hi, everyone. I am Yvonne Ribas with CCE, and I serve in the role of Directors of Programs, and I'm going to pass the floor to my colleague, Ruth.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome, and we're so glad to have you here for Teach for LA 2024. And again, my name is Ruth Ellis, and I am a teacher, I guess, a mentor support candidate, coach, and student support coach for the program.
All right, so we are going to jump right in, and we first want to just go over some quick audience agreements. We have a few speakers this morning, and so we just ask that you don't interrupt while our speakers are speaking. We encourage you to be interactive and feel free to drop any questions you might have in the chat, and we'll try and get to them or forward them to our keynote a bit later on. And then, of course, mute yourself. We understand that you are joining from wherever you are, might it be your car or your office, your school. So we just ask that you try to keep yourself on mute so that everyone can hear and participate. We always start our events with a grounding quote just to kind of set the scene. So this one says, "The beauty of anti-racism is that you don't have to pretend to be free of racism to be anti-racist. Anti-racism is the commitment to fight racism wherever you find it, including in yourself, and it is the only way forward." We often like to think about social justice, and I'm sure that you can tie it into many things that are happening in our world today. So we're so grateful that you're taking some time to join in with us and just experience what the knowledge of the conference has to offer. We also want to continue with our land acknowledgement. We like to recognize that we are gathered on the unceded land of the Tongva, Gabrielino, Chumash, and Kizh peoples. I ask you to join me in acknowledging the Kizh, Tongva, Gabrielino, Chumash communities, and any others that you might name in the chat. Their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. Once again, we are so grateful for you all spending some time with us this morning. And with that, I will pass it over to Ruth to introduce our keynote.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Well, I would like to let you know that it is my honor and with excitement that our team for Teach for LA 2024 welcomes Mr. Casey Cuny, one of the 2024 California Teacher of the Year. He teaches 10th grade honors English and senior mythology and folklore at Valencia High School in Santa Clarita, California. He currently serves as the English department chair and the school's instructional coach. He has served as an EL coordinator for a decade and an instructional coach for the last 15 years. And he also teaches at National University in the Master's Education program, working with teachers from all over the country. It is our pleasure to welcome Mr. Casey Cuny. And if you want to give him a little thumbs up, applause, hearts, whatever you want as an emoji, or just clap, we are thrilled. Welcome, Casey. We can't wait to hear what you have to tell us this morning.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, and this is the best. The only people I like to hang out with, and talk to more than my students would be fellow teachers. So this is fantastic. So I'm going to share my screen here and kind of jump right in, and I'll be sharing it. Sometimes I might stop sharing it so that I'm not just a little box, and then jump back to it. So hopefully you're seeing this now. Yeah, thumbs up. All right. Well, I wanted to talk today about the power of passionate teaching and what it is to be a passionate teacher. And first, I wanted to just kind of introduce myself and also share just kind of the craziness that's been going on for me in the last few days, because I feel like it's so important to just what occurred over the last week. So I got to go to the White House. Like, who is crazy? The Bidens hosted the first ever state dinner for all the teachers of the year from around the country. It was the first time it's ever been done. It was amazing because I think it elevated the teaching profession a bit. It was all over Good Morning America, and it was on every news channel, and it was just incredible. That's my son on the bottom right. I got to bring my son with me. He's a senior in college at Seton Hall, which is on the East Coast. So it was a quick little flight for him to come over and go with me. And then my dinner mate up in the right-hand corner was Second Gentleman Emhoff, which was just surreal. I got to hang out with him all night. And so that was where I just came from. I spent a week. But the main thing I wanted to share with you about it was this group right here. This is the collection of the 55 state teachers of the year, 50 states, but then also the territories. So Guam, right over here, that's American Virgin Islands, that's American Samoa. We were, at first we were all calling each other like, this is Miss Louisiana down here in front, and I was Mr. California back here. Of course, I could have picked the picture where we were all posing, with the nice pic, but we're teachers, so I wanted to show you the crazy picture we all did. But two things I've taken from this. I now have a friend in every state, but the other thing is that I've never been so impressed by a group of individuals. I mean, I'm going to get like teary-eyed even talking about this. Every single one of these people that I spoke to, it was just, they floored you with how much they cared about kids, how much they cared about students, how dedicated they were, how professional they were, their character, just the quality of people. It was really inspiring. And it just really made me feel very good about the state of education going forward. Right there in the middle is Missy Testerman. She is the National Teacher of the Year. She's been teaching for 31 years. She teaches English as a second language in rural Tennessee in the Appalachian Mountains. I'm paraphrasing her, but she had a line where she said, a lot of people, when they teach ELD, they're teaching students who've just come here. And she said, where I live, I'm teaching kids that were left there. And it's fascinating all that she has done. I mean, she got the hot water turned back in the school through a letter writing campaign to the state. She is just so dedicated. So anyway, I could go on and on about this group, but it really gave me a lot of, I don't know, just hope for the future after meeting these people. And for all of you who are going to be entering the profession, you are doing the right thing. I can tell you that right now. These people are, there are obviously challenges with teaching, but these are some of the most fulfilled people I've ever met. Oh gosh, okay, I could go on and on about them, but I should move on. So these are, one more thing I discovered. None of them give homework. Just putting that out there. Almost none of them give homework. They all have flexible late work policies. They are all about improvisation and formative assessment, and they put students first. That was some of the big takeaways that I got from all of them. Okay, so let me jump right on in here. I want to introduce myself a little bit. This is my family. That is my best friend and my lovely wife, Dawn Kewney, right there in the middle, who I've learned most of my emotional intelligence from. My son, Dylan, on the right is my oldest, and my son, Landon, on the left is my youngest. Dylan is at Seton Hall, like I was saying. Landon will go to San Diego State next year. He's a senior in high school this year. So that's my family. And I thought, what better way to introduce myself than to tell you about my class. So for the last this will be the 5th year, I've been asking my students at the end of the year to tell me the 3 words that describe my class. And then I've been collecting those into a Wordle. So this is 4 years worth of words. So obviously, as you know, the larger the word, the more times it was mentioned. So I'm very proud that fun is number one. But number two is educational. And then there was a tie for challenging and entertaining. And then, of course, there's some funny words in there as they kind of mess around with me a little bit. The word rad is in there because I'm always trying to bring that word back. You know, I'm a Gen Xer from the 90s, so trying to bring that word back. But this image right here is, in my view, what a social emotional learning classroom should look like. It should be a combination of fun and challenging. And that should be what, that's the goal. That's the goal. So let's talk about the power of passionate teaching. And first, I just want to share a little bit about how I came into teaching and really what led me to teaching. And it was that I was a cancer survivor. When I was in 8th grade, I was diagnosed with bone cancer. That was my 8th grade continuation night. That's my mom right there. And I was diagnosed with bone cancer. And when I look back over the narrative of my life, really my teachers are the central characters. Mr. Ortiz came to my house to teach me history, but also to talk about sports when I was going through everything. Miss Satsky, our photo teacher, brought a stack of 8x10s and wallpapered my hospital room with the smiling faces of my friends. And Mr. Brenza, my science teacher, organized a fundraiser for me and my family that I didn't even know about. And I hadn't been to school in 3 months. And my parents announced one morning that I was going to school for the class meeting. And I begged them not to go. I was at my lowest point. I really was thinking daily about giving up on life. I had no hair, no eyebrows. I was in a wheelchair, was frail. I didn't want to go. I didn't want anyone to see me. My parents made me. So they took me to the school. They wheeled me into the room, the packed room. And everyone was staring at me. I was mortified. Then all at once, everyone took out this hat with my name emblazoned in neon lettering across the top. And they all put the hat on and they erupted into cheers. And then they all slowly gathered around me and we're all in a giant embrace hugging me. And I was there in the middle, in the wheelchair, crying through a smiling face. And I credit that moment with really saving my life. And it was my teachers. And in the aftermath of all of this, Miss Foster, practically demanded really that I join speech and debate and try out for school plays. And so I did, which led to a role as Nathan Detroit in Guys and Dolls. And I really just discovered that I'm a horrible actor. And then Miss Caligiuri pushed me to run for student government, which led for me to end up serving as student body president my senior year. So my teachers were there for me through such a difficult time. And then they showed me in the aftermath what I could be capable of. And I wouldn't be here today. And I don't mean for this award. I mean, truly, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for my teachers. And so I ended up getting a degree in business, actually. And I came to Los Angeles with a job in business. And it just didn't feel right. I was working for one of the studios and I just was, thinking I couldn't have gotten a second chance at life to sit in this cubicle and try to convince people to see bad movies. It just cannot be what it was all about. And when I thought back to my life, it was my teachers that kept coming back to me and I wanted to follow in their footsteps and try to make a difference. So I became a teacher and I started my career at Van Nuys High. But my proudest moment of education did not actually come in the classroom. It came about 5 years ago. I had to have a big surgery. I was at UCLA down in Santa Monica for about a week. I had to have my left leg replaced from the initial surgery back when I was young. And one of my old students saw on social media that I was in there and he just showed up at the hospital. Here he is. That's Drew. He just comes on into the room. We were very surprised, but like happily surprised. And he sat with me for hours and we talked about life and about books. And he'd become a very avid reader. And when he left, he gave me a handwritten letter, which I still have here in a special spot. And, I've often thought about this, that I don't know that a lot of people would go to a hospital, go out of their way with all that entails to go visit their favorite accountant, for instance. I don't think that they would, but for their teachers, they will. Because as teachers, we have an opportunity to become a central character in the story of their lives. Now, early in my career, or no, about midway through my career, I always do an icebreaker, and I had a student named Oscar, and on one of the questions was, "What's your favorite book?" And Oscar yelled out, I'll just keep the screen sharing on, and he yelled out, "Green eggs and ham," which of course elicited laughter from around the room. And I pushed him a little harder though. Come on, what's your favorite book? And then he angrily retorted back at me, "I hate reading." I said, "Oh, okay. And then I told him, that his sense of humor taught me that he was very intelligent. And he kind of shrugged me off. He looked at me. But it was later, and we bonded that semester. We bonded over music primarily. And I looked through his transcript. It was littered with D's and F's, but I didn't see that in him. And it was during our unit on growth mindset that I saw him change. In a Socratic seminar, he said that most schooling had made him feel dumb. But now he realized that through strategy and effort, he could learn and master almost anything. He became impassioned, arguing that growth mindset should be used to fight inequities and even poverty. And during silent reading, he started putting his phone down and picking up a book. And at the end of the year, and this is the 11th grade year, we took the CASP test, of course, right? It happens at the end of 11th grade. And I was part of the team that would go through all the scores and the data later on. And so later on, and we got all the scores back. We were pulling up all the scores, and I sorted them. So I got all the perfect scores at the top, and we're scrolling down, and I'm looking at all the perfect scores. And over to the left was AP English, AP Lang, AP Lang, AP Lang, and then English 11. And I look over, Oscar, perfect score on the CASP English. I was so excited that I just pulled him out of class to tell him. And I will truly never forget that smile. He ended up going to a community college, transferring to a UC, becoming the first person in his family to graduate from college, and he is now a nurse. Society told Oscar who he was, but it was through education that he told the world who he would become. And I have seen so many Oscars throughout my career. So many kids that were written off by society. And as teachers, our job is to always see the potential in each kid. Our job is to see what we know they can become before they ever see it, and then help them see it too. And so one of the common threads in all of this, I think, when I look back over both my teachers, but also my work with Oscar, but I wasn't alone with Oscar. I do want to point out, it was a team of teachers. It was about 4 or 5 of us through his 11th and 12th grade year that really worked with Oscar, was the power of a passionate teacher. And I've been thinking about this question lately, that is it possible to have passion without autonomy? Like, can you really, if you think of anything that you're passionate about, it had to have involved choice. It had to involve some discovery, some room for it to grow. And this is essential when you get into the classroom, and it's something that we all need to fight for in education right now, is teacher autonomy. Trust in teachers, and a bottom-up approach versus a top-down. And this is something we talked about in Washington, D.C. This was a common thread from all of the state teachers. It's something I talked about when I got to go to Capitol Hill, and we met with Senator Padilla's staff and Representative Adam Schiff's staff. And something I talked to with Cordera, the Secretary of Education. It must come from the bottom up. I've seen it throughout my entire career. When groups of teachers get together and collaborate on something with discovery and with some room, they get passionate. And passion becomes contagious. And it goes to the kids and it goes to the staff members. When we're handed curriculum, though, and told strict pacing guides, it kills the passion. So when you get in the room, fight for that autonomy and don't be afraid to use your voice. And one way to fuel passion is SEL. I am passionate personally about social emotional learning, and I wanted to talk to you briefly about it because it's so misunderstood. And I wanted to make sure that you guys kind of have a clear understanding of SEL as you're entering the profession. SEL is not a strategy. It is an approach. I hear a lot of districts now doing something like, we're going to do SEL every Tuesday and Thursday for 15 minutes. That is not SEL. SEL is an approach to teaching. We know that we're focused on academic intelligence, right? When kids are in school, academic intelligence, we've broken down to numeracy, literacy, a couple of things. But there's also social intelligence and there is emotional intelligence. And the research bears out that the synergy of focusing on all three with kids pushes kids to levels of academic achievement that are not possible without that concerted approach. And none of us are social or emotional geniuses, right? We all have a little bit of work to do and things to learn. And so we need to do SEL too. The better individuals we become, emotionally and socially literate and intelligent, the better teachers will become, the better friends we will become. So it is integrated and explicit. It's integrated into everything that you do in the classroom, from how you greet them at the door, or how for instance, I have this flexible late work policy. I take late work with no penalty for up to 2 to 3 weeks. I just want their work I want their grade to reflect their mastery. I don't want their grade to reflect their life circumstance, right? If I have a kid come from a divorced family and his book was at dad's house that weekend, but he was at mom's house, I don't want the 0 on Monday to reflect that. I want to give that kid a little bit of time to get the work done, and then I'll grade it based on its merits. But that's an SEL integrated perspective. But it's also explicit in that I teach the kids about SEL and I teach the kids about the competencies. So I thought we could do something really quick. This is the mood meter, and you might be totally familiar with this. This is kind of like the go-to when people do SEL. So this is kind of the basic level. But if you could, in the chat window, can you pick 2 emotions of how you're feeling right now? Because we're usually feeling many emotions at once. But if you could put in 2. Oops. Sorry about, there we go. Trying to get the chat window up. For some reason I can't see the chat window. Oh, there we go. Oh yes, thank you, Ruth. SEL is social emotional learning. I love it. And it's okay if you're in the red. Let us know. Verbalize it. I appreciate that, Ralph. Tired? I'm tired too. I feel you. This is the mood meter from Mark Brackett's team at Yale. And there is a real science to this whole thing. The vertical axis is high energy to low energy, and the horizontal axis is unpleasant to pleasant. So our most pleasant, most high energy emotion is ecstatic. And on the bottom opposite corner down there would be despair. And they've done a bunch of new research, and I'll put this in the chat window so you have the term. But it's called affect labeling. New research on this, that when we verbalize, especially an unpleasant emotion, they see in MRI scans that the electrical intensity in the amygdala actually dampens. So when you have been talking to a friend and have said, for instance, I'm just frustrated about this thing at school, and you felt that did take a bit of the edge off, we see it happening in the brain. So it's so important to teach this to kids, right? To verbalize their emotions rather than to hold them in. That verbalizing them actually takes off the intensity of that emotion. When it's a pleasant emotion, it's what we call mindfulness. We move our attention up to our executive functioning in the front to recognize that we're feeling grateful. And when we do, we're better able to appreciate it. So this is just one example of the many things that are in SEL. Basically, SEL is 5 competencies, if you want to really boil it down. And I'm not going to go too deep into this, but I would ask you to definitely look it up down the road. The Castle 5, it's called. There are 5 competencies to SEL: self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, and social awareness. Now, within that, there's a lot. There's a lot going on in there. But really, it's an approach to teaching. And if you are interested in diving into SEL, I would say start small and then kind of build from there. And that's really how you should do probably with everything in teaching. Okay, but it works. Durlak did this famous meta-analysis, which of course is a study of studies, 270,000 kids. They found school-wide SEL programs had an 11 percentile point academic achievement boost. That's a letter grade. That's a letter grade. Penn State found an 11-to-1 return on investment, meaning $1 spent on SEL was 11 coming back. So SEL just works. And you hear a lot of people that I could show these really quick. I don't want to run out of time here. But it works. Kids work harder when they know that their teacher cares about them. And you should explicitly tell them. I tell them all the time, I care about you guys. I'm thinking of you. And they look at me kind of funny, but they love it. They're smiling. And we don't think about it sometimes. We think, oh, they know. No, they don't know. They're bringing in their biases just as much as everybody else. And they may not have had teachers in the past that have told them that they care about them. So you should be explicit about it. So I'm going to move off of this really quick. SEL is really about building resiliency. It is about creating humans who are mentally resilient, emotionally literate, and able to work well with others. It is not trauma dumping, false positivity, dwelling in the negative at all. And it sometimes has been misapplied that way, unfortunately. But it really is about setting up a situation where you enable rigor. It fuels formative assessment. Kids won't listen to feedback if they don't trust you. It's actually the foundation for all good teaching. So I'm going to jump ahead because I want to really get into these things. I thought about you guys. Well, we did this at Valencia High, and SEL was the focus all through the pandemic. And I don't want to harp on this too much, but it is pretty impressive that since 2019, we've actually raised our test scores. We're one of the only schools in the entire state of California that did it. We raised our test scores by 9.5% through the pandemic, which is kind of unheard of. And I truly believe it was because of the SEL focus. We all took on flexible late work policies. We started allowing rewrites on essays and retakes on tests. And again, this doesn't have anything to do with grades. This was achievement on that test. All right, here's some things I thought that you might appreciate. Things I wish I had known when I started teaching, because I was horrible. Okay, I was horrible. I look back on it and I feel bad. I think I just told stories half the time, and I thought my job was to uncover the secrets of the literature. And now I realize, no, my job is to teach them skills and to help them become better humans, as much as better readers, writers, and speakers and listeners. But I wish I had known this. Do this, learn all their names on day one. I know that's hard. I have their roster out. I pull up Infinite Campus with their pictures. I create mnemonic devices. I study to get ready for school, and I memorize all of their names by day 2. So that on day 2, when they're coming in the door, I greet them all at the door with the knuckles and by name. It makes the biggest difference. I mean, you all had those teachers that a month into school were like, hey, you, you know, and no one likes that. No one appreciates that. So if you do this, I'm telling you, it'll change everything. On day 4, you have a kid kind of messing around and you're like, hey, Jake. Oh, Jake turns around. Oh, wow. They already know my name. Yes, it dramatically improves classroom management, but it really lets kids know that you care. They're impressed by it. Every year I do this and they're always impressed. None of my colleagues do it. I try to get them to do it. A lot of them will do the little tents with the kids' names on it, which is not a bad idea, but I think you start to use that as a crutch. I would urge you to really work on this and really get to know all their names right away, because names are part of our identity, and greet them at the door. Play music. I play music all the time now. I play music as they're walking in the classroom. I create class playlists from their interests. I do a Google form and they give me their songs that they like, and we use music a lot. Music is a way to connect people. Turn and talk all the time. It's the simplest strategy. As you're lesson planning or you're looking through something, just put a little asterisk on your plan about 3 to 4 times a period. Turn to your neighbors, talk this out. Now, guess what? The first few times you do this, they won't talk. It takes coaching. It takes walking around. It takes spurring them on. It does. But you'll notice by about week 3, I say turn and talk, and they just turn and talk. And it's amazing because discussion is the key to information processing. Think about how many kids come to school on Monday and leave on Friday and never say a word. It happens in way too many classrooms, and it's a travesty. We need kids talking. It is the key to learning. Get them talking all the time. And then call on a couple kids or volunteers to come whole circle with it. It's a fantastic and simple strategy. It's so basic and so simple, but it's so effective. And why isn't my thing working? I think, wait, what happened there? Oh yeah, let the kids teach you what to teach next. This is essentially formative assessment. Some of my best teaching strategies I've gotten from my kids. Just to give you a little short example, Common Core Reading Standard 2 is writing summaries. So I asked my kids to write summaries when those standards first came out, and the summaries were horrible. And I was looking at the summaries, and one of the things I noticed was that they wrote the summaries out of order. They would start with something at the end of the article and then jump to the middle and then go back to the end and then to the front. There was no order to it, and they were missing details for sure. So I thought, I racked my brain, how can I get them to write sequential, and and then I came up with it. So what we did is the next day in class, we had an article and I had them chunk it. So after we read it, they went back through and they drew lines across the text, breaking it up into like 4 parts. And then we talked about, now all I have to do is go 1 sentence per chunk in order, and you have a summary. And then we worked on how to write that sentence. You go through that chunk and you kind of underline some key words, and it's like a word game. You turn those words into a sentence. And I now use this all the time, but I only came up with that from listening to my students' misunderstandings. This is the key. Teaching is a dynamic, almost like a conversation with your students. I spoke in front of the union about a month ago, and I ripped up a pacing guide, and it caused a lot of excitement, and I hopefully not any controversy yet. But pacing guides are important, but I worry about new teachers when you come into the profession, they hand you this pacing guide and they say, this is what you have to do. And by next week, you better be here. And I would say, that is a blueprint. It is not something set in stone, because your students are going to teach you where you need to go. If you're a math teacher and they all failed chapter 1 test, you should not be moving on to chapter 2. And yet I see teachers do it every day. You should revisit, because if you think about it, they're just going to fail chapter 2 now. So no, forget the pacing guides. The kids are your guide. Let the kids teach you what to teach next. We're almost done here, but I want to get a few more things. Realize the power of your voice. You will have 150, 200 kids. If you're in primary, you're going to have, 30, maybe more every day. And you're going to forget the things you say, because you're going to say so much and so many kids. But your kids have that one teacher that year in primary, or in high school, they have 6 teachers. And there is a very good chance they will remember something that you say for the rest of their lives. There's stuff right now, you could probably think back on some of your teachers, and I can remember many things my teachers had said to me. They will remember things you say. So remember that. There is a responsibility with that. And it could be as simple as, like, kid walks in with some really cool Converse that they decked out themselves, and you notice, and you tell them, wow, I love those shoes. They may remember that for the rest of the semester. So engage with your kids, use your voice, realize the power that you have. Become a very good pitch person. You have to sell, okay? As a teacher, you have to sell. Relevance is everything. I'm always talking about, when I talk about ethos, pathos, and logos, I'm not talking about writing literary critiques. I'm talking about getting a job in an interview, or how to get a date. High school kids love that stuff, because they need to realize in their world why it matters. And then you can bridge it up to the more academic world, but go with relevance and pitch it and sell it and work on that over the years. And then this is the last one I'll leave you with. It's rigor through relationships. If you build relationships with your students, I would say devote the first 2 weeks to it, truly, when you get in the classroom. Spend your time. And because when they realize you care about them and you love them and they love you back, they'll do anything. They will go to such heights in terms of rigor and academic achievement. It'll blow you away. And there are always going to be a couple, that you may not love, but you have to let them think you do. Okay. That's where you have to kind of act a bit. The parting comments, I guess, would be that I love teaching. It's not easy, though. I will tell you, it's tough, but it's so rewarding. Early on, there's going to be more days that you're going to go home frustrated. But as you get going further into the profession, there are more days that you go home just enlightened and feeling so fulfilled. So the beginning part is the toughest. Stick through it. And just like we tell the kids, be a lifelong learner. Keep learning, keep growing. It truly is the practice of education. I'm still trying to figure stuff out. The kids change, culture changes, technology changes, and so you stay young with it. I'm constantly learning and figuring out new things. And that's the best part about it in many ways. So I'm here for you. Please don't hesitate to reach out. If you ever have questions, you can find me. My email, I'll put this in the chat, I'm at ccuny@heartdistrict.com. And I'm on Instagram, obviously, so you could go there, find me there. You can send me messages through Instagram as well. That's it, there we go. Yeah, I would love to be a mentor in any way I can. I love this program, and I'm excited for the world that you are all going to create. The kids give me hope. The kids teach me that there is hope, and I see the wonder in every single one of them. And I truly believe it's our job to help them see it too. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Casey. All of those wonderful words of wisdom. My takeaways now, my new 2 words besides, I forget what I wrote at the beginning, but now I'm feeling very inspired and optimistic, and none of the other words right now. So I thank you for starting my Monday off that way. And we got 2 minutes left, so we can give that back to you, and thank you so much. And if anybody wants to put any comments in the chat about what you heard from Casey this morning, feel free to do that as we transition to a little bit about who we are as Teach for LA and our CCE history. And don't leave, because we also have a raffle coming up and our session starting soon. So I am going to now turn it over to Leah.
All right, everyone. I hope you were inspired by our opening keynote speaker, Casey Cuny, California's 2024 Teacher of the Year. Thank you, Casey, for sharing your experiences, the impact that your teachers had on you. That was great. And the approaches you had on teaching. There were so many nuggets in there. So, our audience, if you feel like it, you can share with us some of the things that you've learned from Casey today. Thank you so much, Casey. So like Ruth said, don't go anywhere, because we are going to have our opportunity drawings soon. But before that, let's take a quick trip to memory lane and explore how Teach for LA came to be. All right, so Teach for LA actually traces its roots back to 2016, when the Teach Los Angeles Regional Collaborative, I see Renee smiling there, or Teach LARC was established. That was funded by the Regional Strong Workforce Program in the Los Angeles region. And Teach LARC, of course, our aim was to support aspiring educators or teachers. And one of our standout initiatives was the annual Future Teacher Conference, which began as an in-person event in September 2019, hosted at Rio Hondo College with over 300 attendees. Of course, the following year, COVID-19 pandemic struck, as you all know, and we hosted all in-person events. So as the college lead of the collaborative at that time, I vividly recalled grappling with the question of how to continue serving our students, because we're very student-centered. So that's when I proposed the idea of a virtual workshop series conference to the other 10 colleges that was a member of the collaborative then. And it was a lifeline. It allowed us to reach our future teachers even during those challenging times. And amidst the gloom, it truly became a silver lining, marking the beginning of what is now our 8th season. So I do extend my heartfelt gratitude to everyone who has been part of this journey, including our workshop presenters and my colleagues, Yadira Aureliano, Renee Marshall, and Bobby Becca, who later took on the reins and continued to drive Teach for LA forward. Thank you, guys. You're always in my heart. So, well, after our funding ended, we missed one semester. But today, Teach for LA thrives thanks to our valued partnerships. This year, we're proud to collaborate again for the second time with the Center for Collaborative Education through the Grow Your Own Teacher Pathway Project. So with that, I'll pass the mic to CCE.
Thank you so much, Leah. Wonderful history that I love to hear every single time. And it is amazing to see you all here this morning. I looked at the participant list and see so many friends Thank you so much for being here. And thank you to Casey for his inspiring opening keynote. I do feel energized and inspired as well. So again, my name is Yvonne Ribas with the Center for Collaborative Education, CCE. We're honored to host this community-based virtual conference with our partners, Rio Hondo College, Cerritos College, and West LA College. CCE is a nonprofit organization with a mission of bringing community and schools together to increase educational equity and positive impact on student and community outcomes. CCE has a deep history and foundational work in teacher and principal development through teacher and principal residency programs in both Los Angeles and Boston, Massachusetts since 1994. Most recently, we secured funding from the U.S. Department of Education to implement a teacher exploration program, Community Partnerships for Teacher Pipeline, or CPTP, and currently a teacher preparation program called Grow Your Own Teacher Pathway based at Rio Hondo, Cerritos, and West LA colleges. Our program aims to address the critical teacher shortages and teacher diversity issues through a regional Grow Your Own guided teacher pathway for equity, empowerment, and excellence for our program participants and communities that we serve. We're grateful for the active partnerships with the 3 community colleges and their feeder school districts, as well as the local CSUs and UCs, including Cal State Los Angeles, Dominguez Hills, Long Beach, Pomona, Northridge, Fullerton, and UC Irvine. Without further ado, Nicole, please take us into the exciting raffles.
All right, hello again, everyone. So if you are still with us, thank you so much. So we're going to take just a moment to get set up for the raffle. So if you would like to participate, I'm going to have you scan this QR code right here to put your name in the hat for participation. So I'm going to leave this up on the screen for the next 2 minutes while we get everyone who'd like to participate enrolled. And while we do that, we're also going to be entering the names that come in into our fun raffle wheel of names. So scan it, put your name in, and we will jump in just a moment.
I also might want to add, when you put your name in, I don't know if it were able to, is it first and last name?
Yes, I'm asking
Okay.
for your first, your last name, and oh my gosh, you guys are quick. I see 15 of them already.
Great,
Your
yeah.
first name, your
'Cause
last name, and your email address. So keep sending them in, and once I change the screen, that'll mean that the raffles are closed and we are going to jump into it. So keep on going. I see them
Awesome.
all filtering in. I would sing for you guys, but we're recording and no one wants that on record. So just keep putting your names in. Yes, let me get you the direct link right now.
If you're scanning and you're not, oh, I see it came through for you. Good. We're going to put the link in a minute. I believe, Sophia, if you want to wait a minute, we'll put the link in the chat. There it is right there. Feel free to just click on the form that's right there from CCE Ed Pathways, and just click on it right there if you can't scan. And if not, just message either Leah or me and we'll get you in. Great, thank you. Please let us know if you're having any trouble. We'll help you out.
All right, Nicole.
All right, folks, we're gonna keep it going for another 60 seconds. I'm gonna drop the code in one more time for those of you who still need it, and then I'm gonna go ahead and download our names. I see so many coming in.
Thanks, everybody. Just enjoy the music. We're getting the names set up. While we're getting our names set up, as the raffle comes in, we will be, actually, I will be sending you in the chat an individual link if you win, and you will fill out that link. So just bear with us while we get all the names in, and as you win, you will get a direct message in the chat from Ruth Ellis to fill out the link on how you will receive your prize.
All right, I see them slowing down. So going once, going twice, drop in the chat if you need us to wait for you. Fabulous, Leah. I am sending you the names right now. And while Leah gets everyone's names uploaded, I'm gonna go ahead and share this next screen and just give you all a sneak peek into what our 11 a.m. sessions are. We have science education meets social justice, along with the democracy deficit disorder in schools. So if you're interested in either of those, you can scan the QR code right here. I will also drop the registration links in the chat in just a moment. If you're not already registered, they are both amazing presentations, and we are so excited for everyone to take part. Just so you all know, it was brought to my attention this morning that Tiny URL is down. So if you need the direct link to the flipbook, please let us know. I sent it out to everyone this morning, but just in case, I have it available for you here.
I can't open the CSV file.
Okay, no problem, Leah. I'll send it to you through your email right now. So while we get our raffle set up, you can click on either of these links and read the descriptions of the sessions and register to attend in just an hour at 11 a.m.
Also, as Nicole said, the flipbook is, the Tiny URL is down, but I believe she sent you the flipbook. And feel free to pre-register for any other ones that are coming up today. We have some amazing ones, as well as tomorrow. So you can plan ahead around your schedule so that you can set yourself up ahead of time.
Okay, Nicole, did you send already?
I'm getting it right now.
Thanks, Yvonne Tran. Flipbook is link is also in the chat if you need it.
All right, Leah, I think I've got it. I will just share my screen on here so we can get
Okay.
started. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Our first winner.
Do we know what we're
I'll
going
pull
to be
up what
what the
you've
prize
won
is?
right now.
All right.
Jessica McKay. You're probably wondering, that's fantastic. What on earth have I won? Well, I'm gonna show you right now.
Jessica,
won.
are you Jessica's iPhone? I don't have a last name on that. I need to send you a private message. So if you can unmute and just tell me yes or no.
Hi, good morning. How are you? I
Hi.
hope that you're
Good.
doing very well. And yes, this is my cell phone.
So is it Jessica's iPhone as your screen name?
I just account iPhone is not my screen name. It's mine with the little flower.
Okay.
So if it's a wrong name, I mean, if it's a different person, then that's okay.
No. I'll find you. I'll send you something. Okay.
It's okay. It's okay. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, on to name number 2. Rosa Jimenez, you have won a Harry Potter lanyard. Yay! I hope you're a Harry Potter fan because that's really cool. I'll give Ruth a second to find you in the chat and then we will continue on. We have 10 prizes this morning. So make sure you come back for the closing session because we have, I think, what, 15 layup? So your odds are improved. All right, I see Rosa in the chat, so we will continue. Up next, we have a Harry Potter tumbler. All these Harry Potter prizes. I'm very jealous. Sophia Elacor. All right, I see Sophia in the chat, so let's go ahead and continue. Ooh, one Funko bobblehead. We have Shuhua Chen. I'm gonna wait to find you in the chat.
Who was it?
Shuhua Chen.
Shifachen. I got it.
Fabulous.
So I'm sending you forms, winners. Please fill them out so we can get your connection information to send you the prizes.
You guys are gonna see Nicole Reynolds pop up because I want a prize. All right, up next, we have a book, Homeless by Choice by Roy Juarez for Albert Davis. Albert Davis. All right,
There he
Albert is
is. Hi,
here.
Albert.
We were gonna keep it going. Ooh, a mystery bag. For Ivana Vaca. All right, I see you in the chat. Ruth will be sending you a message momentarily. How are we doing, Ruth? Ready to continue?
Yep, we're doing great.
Fabulous. All right, up next. Ooh, refrigerator magnets. Andrea Lara.
There's
They are
Andrea.
here. Fantastic. All right. Spinning, spinning, spinning. Ooh, a Disney Grownish Blackish mug for Vinny Romero.
Miss Vinny, are you here?
Fabulous. I see you in the chat.
There we go.
All right. Oh, Barbie Sleep Mat. You guys, I love these prizes. For Brianna Myricks.
I recognize that name.
Hello, Brianna. Congratulations. I'm going to pause here. I believe we have more prizes, but I want to double check with the team.
Yeah, I need our first winner. I believe
There's
if that
actually-
person,
You will see that there's gonna be a demarcation for the closing session.
yeah, I need our first winner. If you could chat me, who is our first winner?
Yeah, I'll
Was
send you
it-
the name right now.
Yeah, if you
Let's
could
get the little
chat me,
spinning for the Harry Potter.
Harry Potter plastic cup.
Nayeli Dueñas.
Nayeli, if you could chat me, then I'll send you the form. I see you right there.
Yep, she's doing.
I'm sorry, can you remind me what I want? I'm Sophia.
Sophia, you won the Constellation Straw Cup,
Okay, thank you.
Harry Potter.
Okay, thanks.
Do we have Nayeli in the chat?
Yeah, we got it.
Fabulous.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, and there we are. Thank you all so much for joining us. We are happy to give you an hour back into your morning. Once again, we have our 11 a.m. sessions along with the flip book. So we hope to see you throughout the conference. Thank you all so much for spending an hour with us this morning.
Hey, excuse me.
Yes.
Yes.
I forgot what price I got.
I've got you
Thanks for watching.
down. Shu Wang. Let me see. I'm looking it up right now. I believe, was it a bobblehead? Or let me see. Who won the trucker hat? That's the last one I didn't get.
I put it in the chat for you, Ruth.